I've got a question for all those who are so unsceptical they believe whatever Christopher Monckton says about climate. Why? What is it about him that makes him so believable? Is it his science background as science advisor to Margaret Thatcher?
Or Lord Christopher Monckton, former science advisor to Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher?
Is it the fact that he wrote several peer-reviewed scientific papers, so he must know what he's talking about?
Now, when I write a peer-reviewed paper in a scientific journal...
Or is it simply the weight of his irrefutable arguments, which you've checked for yourselves, and show quite clearly that his fellow scientists have got things wrong? Well, we can dispense with the first two very quickly. The idea that Monckton has some kind of a science background may have started with an article he wrote in 2006, claiming to have advised Margaret Thatcher on scientific scams and scares. In fact, he has no science background. He has a degree in classics and a diploma in journalism. And if he was Margaret Thatcher's science advisor, let's check her autobiography to see what she thought of his advice. That's funny. Margaret Thatcher says her science advisor in the policy unit was George Guy's. Well, maybe Monckton was the man who advised her specifically on climate change. After all, he says so himself.
Now, Margaret Thatcher, whom I used to advise on this question 25 years ago...
No, Margaret Thatcher disagrees. She specifically says George Guy's advised her on climate change, as a result of which she made a speech about it to the Royal Society and set up the Climatic Research Unit. So what role did Monckton play in her life? Well, let's take a look in the index. Molotov, Molyneux, monetarism? In the entire 900-page autobiography, it seems Margaret Thatcher couldn't find room for a single mention of one of her most important advisers.